Hi everyone, it's Friday, and as I've been reading through the book of Isaiah in my morning quiet times in the last little bit, the other day I came to chapter 2 and God really spoke to me, so I thought I'd share it with you. It's a chapter where God is speaking to Jerusalem and to Judah, and he's saying that one day he's going to bless them, he's going to provide for them peace and prosperity. In fact, they'll become the center of all the nations of the earth who will go to Jerusalem to worship the Lord. And the swords will be beaten into plowshares and that famous passage. But before that happens, God is saying to the people here and to my heart that the Lord alone is going to be exalted in that day. Therefore, your pride and your self-sufficiency has to be dealt with. And for Israel, it means judgment. For us, it is just that God wants us to exalt him alone in our lives and wants me to exalt him alone in my life. And so it says, on that day, the splendor of his majesty, it talks about the haughty looks of man shall be brought low, and the lofty pride of men will be humbled, and the Lord will be exalted in that day. For the Lord of hosts has a day against all that is proud and lofty, against all that is lifted up, and it shall be brought low. And so God spoke to me about the fact that so easily I don't exalt him alone in my life, alone, like above everything else, nothing to be in conflict with that. And I thought of how I sometimes might respond to my wife. I do respond to my wife in a way that is more concerned about myself than herself, that I'm irritated with a next door neighbor, or I don't agree with what the church leadership might decide to do, or the church choice of the songs and the hymns that we sing, or whatever. There's all sorts of areas where my personal desires and my personal self-interest is paramount, and the Lord alone is not exalted in my life. When somebody ignores me or somebody's in need, but I have other priorities, and so the list goes on. So easily pride, self-sufficiency, self-interest takes the place of God alone being exalted in my life. And so God really spoke to me about, well, who am I anyway? 3 times in this passage it says about the Lord that he is one with splendor and majesty. He is exalted. He is worthy of praise and honor. Yet he himself became one of us, and in humility walked the pathway to the cross and died there for me and for you. And as I thought about that, well, who am I to exalt myself above him, above the Lord, or above anyone else? As I remember reading in the book years ago, Humility by Andrew, it was in that book, the main thought was to me that God, if we're going to be humble before God, then that's shown in our humility before others. By Andrew Murray, I remembered the name. So the message to me was, Keith, humble yourself in your relationships, in every area of life, and then alone will God be glorified in my life. May that be our prayer for each one of us, and for myself especially today.